kindergarten. So we are going to start our treehouse drawing by drawing a natural environment. So our learning objective is to understand the difference between a natural environment and a constructed environment. So the natural environment is a place where people have not touched. They haven't built anything. And so it's just land and trees, or it's the water and the beach. But a cityscape, a picture of a city or buildings, would not be a natural environment. So you're going to draw a natural environment today. You're going to start with a white piece of paper. You're going to write your name and the day you have art. Day A, day B, day C. Going to flip it over, and with your pencil you're either going to draw a landscape or a seascape. So a landscape could be made up of different hills, and you could add some trees, and trees that are farther away are smaller, trees that are closer to us would be bigger. You can add the sun and some clouds, but you won't be adding anything that a man would have made. So it's just nature at its finest. Okay, so once you get your drawing complete, then you're going to trace over your pencil lines with a marker. A nice black juicy marker. Don't use any old dried out gray markers. Take your time, trace over your pencil lines very carefully. Then you're going to take your eraser and you're going to erase any pencil lines that you didn't trace over exactly. Okay, and so now we're going to paint our background. So here are a few other examples of natural scenes before we start painting. So here is a landscape. Here's another landscape, but this time we just have hills and mountains. Or you could do a seascape, where you would do like the beach and some water and the sky. So when you paint, you're going to need to get a blue placemat to go under your work. You're going to share a water basin, and you're going to share a temper cake tray. Now I chose this temper cake tray because it's pretty messy. The orange is pretty messy, the yellow is pretty messy, and I wanted to show you how you would clean those off. So you just get a paintbrush, get it wet, make sure it's clean, and then you just swirl it around on the color, rinse it off, swirl it around on the color, rinse it off, swirl it around real quick, just like 2 or 3 swirls and then rinse, 2 or 3 swirls and then rinse, and you can see this yellow is starting to really clean up because I'm using fresh water and I'm getting the dirt off of there, and then I'm rinsing the dirt off into the water basin. And I've got some red that's wanting to pour into the yellow here, so I'm going to get the edge. Okay, and so my orange needs to be cleaned off, so I do the same thing. Swirl around 2 or 3 times, rinse. Okay, so now I'm going to paint my seascape. So I need to get my paintbrush clean, and I'm going to paint the sun yellow. Now with temper cakes, if you use a lot of water and a little bit of paint, it'll look more like watercolor. But if you swirl around quite a few times with your wet paintbrush and you get a lot of paint on your paintbrush, then it's a nice dark solid color that you can't see through. And I'm going to paint every other ray yellow. Okay, rinse my paintbrush off because I'm changing colors. Now I'm going to give this some time to dry. The great thing about temper cakes is it dries pretty fast. So I'm going to give it a little bit of time to dry, and I'm going to use brown down for my sand. And I'm going to use a lot of water and a little bit of paint so that it's a light brown. I could make this brown as dark as you see here in the tray by swirling my paintbrush around and getting a lot of paint, but I want it to look more like sand, a light color. Alright, and so now I'm going to do my water. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to get just a little bit of paint on my paintbrush and a lot of water to get a lighter color. Dip my paintbrush in the water, just plain water, and put that on here. Just so I can get a variety of blues. Since there's only one blue in my paint tray, I want to get a lot of water and make a light stripe of blue here. And then I'm going to do dark blue in the other two. So now I'm going to go back and work on the orange rays of my sun. So if I had painted this orange right next to my yellow, it might have ran and bled in and ran and mixed. But since I gave the yellow a little bit of time to dry by painting some other spaces, now it shouldn't bleed and run into each other. Okay, my yellow was a little wet there, so the orange is kind of running into the sun a little bit, but that's okay. And now I'm going to rinse my paintbrush off, and I'm going to do dark blue for the rest. So dark blue, I need to swirl around a lot to get a lot of paint on my paintbrush. And you can see that's much darker than the first blue that I painted, so you'll be able to definitely tell the difference between each of my waves. Since I want a lot of paint, I need to dip my paintbrush in the water real fast, just real quick, and then swirl around a lot to get a nice dark blue paint. Alright, and then this will go on the drying rack. You'll get a dry paper towel to to dry off your placemat and get all that wet paint off of there. Now, my placemat is dry. Is it clean? No, there's mess on here, but it's dry to the touch because I took my paper towel and I dried off the wetness. And that's what you need to do before you put your placemat back. Hello kindergarten, so today we are working on the learning objective that we will know what a natural environment is and we will know what a constructed environment is. So remember that a constructed environment is a city or a neighborhood where we have buildings and roads. And a natural environment would be something like the beach or an island or the mountains or a forest or a park or your backyard where there isn't roads and streets and things. And so we are going to create an artwork that combines a natural environment and a constructed environment. So the natural environment will be the background, and then we'll add a tree, which will also add to our natural environment. And then we're going to do a constructed piece where we're going to add a tree house. So this is my tree house in the shape of a boat, because your tree house doesn't have to be a traditional house shape. It can be whatever shape you want it to be. But you need to make sure that you include windows and some doors somewhere. So what I started with for this one is the backyard. The backyard is a natural environment. Yes, we do have a building here and that falls under constructed, but the backyard where you play, it's a natural environment. It's got grass and trees and flowers. And so now we need to add our tree that we're going to put onto our background to add our tree house to. So we're going to do a very simple tree, which is just a circle top and a tree trunk shape. So you're going to start with a green piece of paper and a circle shape. You're going to set that down on your green paper and you're going to trace around it with your pencil. All the way around. And then you're going to use scissors to carefully cut the circle out. And remember, when you cut with scissors, that you don't turn your scissors as you cut. You keep your scissors straight and you turn the paper. And if you cut slowly, you'll be able to stay on that circle. Very carefully cut slow, turn slow. You notice my scissors are not turning. They're staying in one direction, and then I'm turning the paper. So this is my tree top. Your scraps can be recycled. And then I'm going to give you a tree trunk shape and a piece of brown construction paper. So you're going to take, now I'm going to save myself some time. If I put this tree trunk right in the middle, I have to trace the bottom and all the sides. But if I scoot this tree trunk down to the bottom of the brown paper, I don't have to trace the bottom of it. I just have to trace the sides of it. So you're going to trace this with your pencil right along the edge. You're going to need to make a nice dark line because this paper is dark, so it's hard to see your pencil lines on that dark paper. And then you're going to carefully cut this out. And again, you turn your paper, not your scissors. Now you have to decide how tall you want your tree. So you're going to overlap the tree trunk onto the tree. And you could scoot the tree up to the top of the paper and the tree trunk down to the bottom, and it takes up almost all your paper. Or you could scoot the bottom of it down and have a lot of the tree trunk overlap into the green tree, and your tree could be shorter. It's up to you. You don't have to put it right in the middle. You could scoot it over to one side if you want, but try not to have it hang off your paper. On this example here, my natural environment is a forest, and I added the tree in the front, and I did it really tall, so it takes up a lot of that space. I'm going to do this one a little bit different because I want you to be able to see my house. And if I put it up here, I think it just takes up, and I want you to be able to see that there's another tree there. So I'm going to make this tree shorter. So the first thing that you're going to do is, once you've decided how big your tree is going to be, you're going to move the tree trunk, and you're going to put a frame of glue on the green circle, and then you're going to flip it over right where it is. You're not going to move it up higher or lower. You're going to try and keep it right where it is. And then your tree trunk, you need to do a frame of glue as well. That way this tree isn't flapping around on your paper. If you don't do a frame of glue, then the tree will just be flapping, and we want it to be nice and flat on your paper. So here's my tree trunk and my tree. Now I'm ready to do my tree house. So this is where you get to be creative. You get to decide what shape tree house you want to draw. Do you want it to be like a car, a race car, or a helicopter treehouse shape? Do you want it to be a boat? Do you want it to be a traditional treehouse shape? I've got a traditional treehouse right here that I drew and cut out. I also have a castle that I drew and colored, but I haven't cut out yet. So you get to decide. I'm going to go ahead and draw a traditional treehouse where I start with the top of a triangle. So that's this shape here. Then I'm going to add a skinny rectangle on this side, which is this here. And then I'm going to come straight back. And then this is a diagonal line. So now I have my roof, just like this shape here. And now I need the bottom of the treehouse, which is 2 straight lines. I'm going to bring that down to the bottom of my paper because I want your treehouse to fill this white paper up. I don't want you to draw a tiny little treehouse. Now, it's important that you include windows and doors so that people know it's a tree house and it's not just a helicopter that's crashed into your tree, and it's not a castle shape, but you don't know why it's there. You want people to know it's a tree house, so you need to add windows and doors to get in. So my boat, my sailboat, I needed to add a door somewhere, and I forgot to do that. So you're going to draw your tree house. On this one I added lots of detail. I added window frames and the lines in the windows. I added shutters. I added window boxes with flowers. I added a window frame around this window, a frame around the door, a window to the door, and a knob. You can add lots and lots of detail. I did straight lines for the roof, and I did the straight lines for the roof here, but you could do scalloped line for the roof if you want. So after you have it drawn, you're going to outline it with marker. The more details you add, the nicer your drawing looks. So that's why I like to try and add other details, so it's not just some rectangles for the windows that I add a window frame. I could add breaks in the windows, those lines in the windows too. Okay, so once you've outlined, you're ready to color in, and I want you to use colored pencil because your treehouse is so small. Colored pencil will do a nice job. And I want to show you how to use my special colored pencil sharpeners. Whenever you use my special colored pencil sharpeners, you need a paper towel, and my sharpeners look like this. There are 2 holes to the sharpeners. There's a big one and a small one. You won't use the big one, you'll only use the small one. And when you want to sharpen a colored pencil, you're going to put it in the hole and you're going to twist while you push. If you just kind of twist and don't push, nothing will happen. So you know it's working when you get the pencil shavings to come. So you know it's working when shavings come out of there and you're doing it correctly. So as you twist, you'll get a nice sharp point, and then your pencil shavings should be on this paper towel, and your sharpener should stay on the paper towel. Your sharpener should never be by a trash can. So then you're going to color in neatly your house. All the way in. You can leave your windows white, but everything else should be colored in. When you have your treehouse colored in all the way, you can leave the windows white, but everything else should be colored in. Then you're going to carefully cut out your treehouse. You're going to cut right along the black marker. You're not going to cut the black marker off. You're going to cut right along the edge of it. Notice how I'm turning my paper, not my scissors. This scrap can be recycled. And the last and final step, is to glue your treehouse on. And you can glue your treehouse up above the tree trunk, or it can overlap the tree trunk if you want. That's up to you. But when you glue it on, I want you to do a frame of glue again. Don't just put a dot in the middle, because then your treehouse will flap around on your paper. A nice frame of glue. And it's okay if it sticks off the top of your treehouse. Your tree, I mean. Top of your tree, your house, treehouse sticks up off the top. And there you have your finished treehouse showing a constructed environment and a natural environment. So the natural environment is nature, parks, trees, forests, the ocean, an island, and then your constructed environment is the treehouse itself. Good job, kindergarten.